Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fitt Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. Today, I'm joined by Akin Akman and Angela Manuel-Davis, co-founders of AARMY, a digital and in-person fitness concept. In this episode, the team explains how AARMY accelerated its digital transformation during the pandemic. We also talk about the importance of building community in the virtual environment, and we discuss the company's hybrid offering that includes studios, pop-ups, digital content, and potentially hardware. Before today's episode, I wanted to share some updates to the Fitt Insider platform. As you might know, in addition to this podcast, we send a weekly newsletter to help operators stay informed and make better decisions. We also launched an industry-specific jobs board filled with hundreds of openings at top companies, and we're actively investing in early-stage health and fitness startups. To see what's new or to get in touch, visit insider.fit.co. Angela, Akin, welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Certainly a lot to talk about here. But maybe for anyone who's not familiar, could you, just give them the quick introduction to yourself and what you're working on at AARMY?
I am Angela Davis, co-founder at AARMY, Chief Motivation Officer. And we have launched our digital app, and we started a new series of pop-up experiences. So we have been taking AARMY on the road, and that is really exciting and something we are right in the middle of right now, which means that we show up in different cities across America, different countries, and we bring AARMY to communities. So something we're really proud of.
I am Akin Akman. I'm a co-founder of AARMY and the Chief Fitness Officer. And adding on to Angela's statement, we just wanted to get together and reach more people in the position we are in the company. We're able to do that. So we're excited to continue that journey.
Yeah, it's certainly a unique time, both in the world, but especially as it relates to the fitness industry. Obviously, the pandemic having a huge impact. Both of you all having a pretty stellar background in boutique fitness, now coming to AARMY, initially starting as a boutique concept and that continuing to evolve in the current environment. Can you just talk about maybe the last year plus, how that has changed, maybe what the vision was, where things are currently standing, and how you see that moving forward?
Well, I think we were always, a digital, the digital piece was always something that we were pursuing. And so really with the pandemic, we had an opportunity to fast forward that. We all have the ability to look at things as obstacles or opportunities. And the pandemic for us was an opportunity to build a greater community, a deeper community. Our global AARMY has really expanded. And it was an opportunity to really fast forward and fast track our digital presence. So I think the pandemic in that way, so much loss and so much difficulty, we don't want to, I'd be remiss to not mention that, but I'm just choosing to look at what came of it that was of good. And for us, it was to grow our community and really be able to show up for people in a different way.
And it really helped us almost practice. That's what our sessions are called too. But we got to get some practice in as coaches on the digital front without any athletes with us. We learned how to coach at the camera, feeling the presence of the people watching on the other side.
Yeah, I totally think that resonates with, a lot of the listeners, because so many of the businesses across industries had to, you have to make do, you have to adapt. And whether that means now excelling and shifting into maybe a higher gear or getting to different things that were always on the roadmap, but just maybe being forced to get to them maybe before you were fully ready to do that. There's learnings that come with that, and there's opportunities that come with that. So when we initially move into this lockdown, right, when it's fully shut down, and you're thinking about, we see different brands who are Instagram Live, Zoom, hacking together these different components to get to digital. How did you go from that to saying we're going to build our own kind of fully owned or integrated digital product? And what was that experience like? You mentioned, getting used to coaching in front of the camera, but even kind of enlisting the broader team to say, hey, we need to build out the tech to move in this direction.
It was like Angela said earlier. Our intention was always to have a digital front. We always wanted to have minimal studios, brick and mortar, and just have our brick and mortar be the content hubs. So what we did was, as soon as we shut down, actually we closed our studios before it was mandated.
That's right.
We were the first, one of the first fitness studios to close down before everybody else had to. And immediately, I think it was on like a Friday. The next morning, we got on Instagram Live. We started programming daily practice sessions with all our coaches. And
150 days straight.
150 days, we didn't stop. And it wasn't, the intention wasn't, hey, let's build the digital platform. That was already going to happen. The intention was, we need to show up for our community. And
we need to show up and be, in community.
And we thought that it was what we had to do. It wasn't even a question. And while we were doing that, we didn't know how long that was going to be. It turned out 150 days later, we were still doing it. But in that moment, we started building out the studios to be, digital filming studios. And we tested out the product, how it looked, how we were going to film it. Because initially we wanted to film it with athletes, with people, so we could capture the energy. But we had to do it on our own. That was an experience. It was learning, and we saw that we could. It was actually really beautiful because the day we tried, we were like, okay, let's give this a shot. With Trey's our other partner, and William, he does our digital filmings. And we tried the first day, and it worked. And we sent it to Angela, and she was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, we got the look.
We can do it.
We were so excited that we had the capability and capacity to do it at such an early stage in the startup, because we are still a startup, and we literally have been open less than we've been closed.
Exactly.
So, but a lot of learning there. And the only thing also is we had an idea of how we wanted to present the app, but we fast tracked it, and we first launched with content only, and so we get to constantly update that and build onto that, because we have a lot of ideas for how we want to show up on the app.
Right. Yeah. There's a ton of opportunity, right, in that digital space as it all comes together. And for listeners, just to give them a concept of this, right, we've seen so many different approaches to digital, whether that's a pure subscription, just the on-demand or live streaming classes. There's also the component of connected equipment. So when folks are going onto the AARMY digital experience, what are they seeing, and what does that kind of package look like from a consumer side?
Right now it's on demand, mainly. So the subscription is only on demand sessions. But then you can also purchase Zoom credits. So we do Zoom lives as well, which are also filmed exactly like our on demand content, which we also film the Zoom lives, and they end up being on demand as well later on. But those are separate than the subscription. And then we have in-person sessions as well. And when you come onto the app, the experience is very much familiar, in the sense that how you use this app is how you use many other, many other apps like Apple or Netflix or HBO. It's designed so it's familiar that way. And so that you understand that we have thematic series and programs for mental conditioning and physical fitness. So it's basically thematic series, and you do 6-week programs to really get the benefits of what we coach. So that's kind of how the experience works.
Yeah, very exciting. I think, to your point, probably familiar, which makes sense, not to reinvent the wheel in some ways, but to get people kind of acclimated and onto the platform. Angela, initially you mentioned, in addition to the studio experience, the digital product, the pop-ups, traveling to different cities and potentially internationally. What's the thought process behind those pop-ups, and how have you kind of leveraged that to build community, right, and connection with exercisers?
I think community is key. Community is everything. And we already knew that going into this, but I think for every single human on this earth, the pandemic really, really highlighted the importance of being together when all of a sudden you couldn't be together. And the vehicle and the way to be together, was digitally or, through a phone call or a Zoom. And so, slowly bringing that back and introducing that back safely to the world. But what we realize is, and we listened to our athletes and we listened to where they wanted us to go. And all the places that we've gone thus far have been invitations. This isn't anything that we're soliciting. We feel like we're really just listening to our athletes, and our athletes are inviting us, to their hometowns. And so really it's about showing up, bringing AARMY to different communities all over. And some of these communities, it's an opportunity for them to get to know the brand in a different way. And I think that's also something that is, really cool, is that being a startup, brand awareness is still really, really important. And so it's really going out and introducing our brand to the world, saying yes to invitations from athletes. And then these athletes are, introducing us to their family and friends. And it's just a ripple effect. But, community is at the ethos of these pop-ups for sure. It's really about, being able to show up in some unexpected places and let people know that they're loved and appreciated, and, that we are just honored to be on this journey with them.
Yeah, central to so many businesses, but also the fitness boutique experience and building that relationship with consumers. We talk about community so much. That shifting and thinking about it in the digital space is, in some ways, you mentioned, calls and Zooms, and there's more connectivity and more channels, but you don't get it the same way as you do in person. How do you think about continuing to build brand and community, potentially with exercisers that you've never met in person before, which is a departure from, a boutique in-person experience?
I think what we do, where we are lucky and where we are blessed is the sense that what we do is such a vulnerable, it's such a intimate exchange. If you can imagine being physically exhausted and really going through a certain situation or going through a challenge or going through a circumstance with someone that feels so hard and so difficult and so challenging in the best way, but that immediately builds a kinship, and there's an intimacy and a vulnerability in that moment. And so I think that even being not in a physical space together, but going through moments of challenge, even through a digital component, still brings connectedness, and it still brings togetherness, and it still makes you feel like you're not alone. And really, the point of this is to let people know that, look, you can do your life. There's going to be obstacles that come your way, but there's not going to be one obstacle that you cannot face. There's going to be challenges that come your way, but there's not going to be one challenge that you cannot overcome. And you do not have to do your life by yourself. You have an AARMY that is with you, that is behind you, that is supporting you. And really, this is just us fighting for and with each other for, all of our best life. And so even though we cannot always be physically together, there is such a connectedness emotionally and spiritually and mentally when you do go through these experiences and these moments and these practices together. And that is, how we decide to curate. That's how we decide to craft. It's how we decide to coach. With that intention, with an intention with the underlining intention that this is an opportunity to really, produce togetherness and produce relationship and friendship and team. So that's all part of the intention. And even though we are not together, we still are together in this process.
I think also what's been cool to see is through the Zoom lives that we do and through the Instagram lives we did, we've been working out with people from all around the world for over a year, and we've never met them in person. AARMY is a digital first, but we have like a brick and mortar studio in New York as well, and people travel here to meet us, and we know them. Like, it's like I don't even blink an eye. I'm like, the other day, this guy came and I've never met him in person, but I was like, oh, there's Michael.
Yeah.
It was,
and
then I was like, wait a minute, this is the first time I'm actually meeting you in person, and we were laughing about that. But it's really this social media and Zoom and all these different ways of communicating has really, changed everything. And I think we found that in quarantine when we were locked down, but now there's been other countries that are locked down that have found us in this time, like Australia. And we have so many athletes from there that I get to see every day. So I know all of them. It's just a different world.
Yeah, and in so many ways, the challenges, right? And this is what we talked about at the onset, also created those other opportunities that these people, if it was purely brick and mortar and the digital product wouldn't have expanded, or if there wasn't the necessity during the pandemic to utilize it and seek it out, maybe they followed you on Instagram, right, for all these years, but never had the opportunity the same way to work out with you. And now they're kind of loyal AARMY followers. It's incredible to think about how that shifted.
It's actually really cool too as a coach, because now there's literally no excuse. Like, if you have work and you're traveling around, if you don't live here, there's always a way to keep training with us and to keep growing. So you never even skip a beat or miss a beat.
Yeah, I think to that point, this is one of the things that I've been chatting with different folks who are in the same boat as you all, right? That they maybe had the brick and mortar or still do. They've also accelerated or, maybe started as digital. And now we're living in this hybrid or omni-channel environment that the way that people are thinking about it, there are more options than ever for consumers. And now whatever your maybe core discipline is, that maybe started as in person in the instruction, or you started in digital and now are trying to have to figure out in person. How do you balance, right, keeping up that in-person coaching, right, and doing everything that you've done from an instructor standpoint, the quality of that experience, while at the same time learning and growing, right, in this digital realm where customer acquisition is different, marketing is potentially different, and there's all these other moving parts. How do you balance those two things as the business continues to expand?
I think that's the purpose of team. I truly believe that our biggest dream that we have for ourselves, we cannot accomplish alone, and there's 3 of us co-founders and a whole team of people that have different expertise than we do, so when I think that's the power of team, and that's the power of people that know how to figure those things out and really kind of hold the space for us to do what we're great at. But I would say we have a really good team. And I would say too, it's the ability to pivot, the ability to acquiesce, the ability to expand and learn and grow and stretch and take the athletes on that journey with us as we are in this process of becoming, and as we are in this process of discovery. All of that is fuel for our coaching, and fuel for our leadership. And I think part of our coaching style is that we are very transparent with who we are in our lives. And, we take the lessons that we're learning in real time and make them applicable to the cycle experience, to the boot camp experience, to the stretch experience, or to the motivational experience. And so I think for us, we're learning as we go. We're growing. We don't show up as, having it all figured out, but, extending each other grace and giving each other the opportunity to figure it out. And then I think also just having really, really smart people on our team to help guide us where need be.
Yeah, of course. I think you said it really well. It's impossible, right, to do all those things and be the expert in all these different areas. You have to surround yourself with people ultimately that are smarter and more capable in these other areas as you, in the same way that they're teaming with you and looking at you to drive that instruction and the brand and the community forward. So I think that's really well said. You mentioned, you mentioned a kind of a couple times now being a startup, right? And learning and going through this process and trying out the different things as you accelerate this, what was intended to be a kind of a digital first experience. As you look forward, and hopefully, right, we continue to have some level of normalcy back into life, such that we can, get back to making progress and not be interrupted at every turn or every few months, depending on different surges and waves and so forth. What's the kind of ideal structure, split of the business in terms of studios versus digital versus pop-ups? Have you gotten that far in terms of, thinking about that, what that looks like as it comes together? Or is it still in the process of figuring it out, given that so much is still up in the air?
We have an idea of how we want to show up, but we are open to change or where it might take us, this journey. But initially we just wanted to have very few brick and mortar spots, maybe 4 to 5 globally, or learning from the digital, where we have the most subscriptions and showing up there. We did want people to journey to our headquarters spaces and all those spots to be incredible experiences. It's a fusion of art and inspiration and sport and music, fitness. We wanted, it to be an inspiration hub. So that was the initial vision, but we're open to new ideas as well. In terms of the pop-ups, I think we'll keep that going. We'll probably make it a more structured, yearly thing as we put more of a budget behind it. And we have ideas on how we want to show up in the pop-ups as well. Me and Angela have always talked about, having fitness be in like a Coachella or something, and just really make it a super huge experience with all the things that I just stated that we wanted our headquarters to be. So we have big dreams, but we're taking small steps to build it day by day.
That's good.
Yeah, no shortage of opportunities, right? And I think you kind of nailed it in fusing this celebration and in-person and digital. It really does create a whole new world of what fitness can become. So we'll definitely be following along and interested to see how that plays out. To that point, and as we near the end of the conversation, one of the things that kind of jumped to mind as you were talking about those opportunities, one thing we've seen with different either brick and mortar or studio concepts, the kind of fitness content, them plugging into different, whether it's platforms or connected devices or hardware, some of those companies even launching their own hardware. How do you think about that segment potentially of the business? Is that open to partnerships where you plug in with somebody else? Do you have aspirations to launch your own equipment and get into the hardware business? How are you thinking about that?
We're thinking about all of those things. We already have an amazing idea for hardware that we can build immediately if that was our main goal. But right now we really are focused on our digital acquisition and building subscribers numbers. So that's our main focus. But we do have the intention to have a hardware, but we also are content first business, and we do content really well, and we see the value in partnering or showing up on different platforms that already exist. I did speak about HBO or Netflix or that style app before as well, and I think the way we do our thematic series and our programming, they could live alone. Like one of the programs could live alone on a Netflix. So we're totally open to partnerships, and we would like to do it all, but we're focused on really getting the foundation built currently.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And kind of one last thing, I know I'm peppering with the questions now, but you're kind of piquing my curiosity in so many different areas as we're continuing the conversation. As I mentioned, you all coming from kind of esteemed backgrounds in the fitness world and being incredible instructors and, personalities in and of yourself, both with social media followings and then obviously the expertise that speaks for itself. When you think about, you mentioned growing subscribers and that customer acquisition. It can be really expensive, right, in the digital realm to try to pay for that growth. Are you all seeing, or how are you, seeing results on that side? Is it coming through you all in the social media driving that, through the brand doing paid acquisition, more organic just from folks in person and word of mouth growing the brand? How are you thinking about that side, and where are you seeing success?
It's definitely been an organic process. Like you said, we each have our own followings and reputation and personalities and have been in this industry for a really long time. And so it has been organic, but do believe that we are, turning the corner on it, organic being enough. And we have turned the corner and really we are going to begin to start to put a lot of money behind that. As you've mentioned, it is super important, and we do have to be intentional about that. And so we are beginning to put money behind that to grow that for sure.
Yeah, I think it, much like, everything else we've talked about to this point, it's trial and error and kind of par for the course at this point to see which channels are most successful, and then double down and continue to grow those. I think maybe that's a good place as any to sort of wrap up the conversation, just in saying that for folks who, they heard us talk about the experience, what goes into producing the content, all the things that you have on the roadmap going forward in the ways that you can show up and they can show up, right, to meet you and engage with the brand and the classes. What's the best way for them to follow along, learn more, and maybe try that digital experience?
Our Instagram is a great place to start, at AARMY. I think that's an awesome place that will provide you with updates and scheduling. And I guess, for me, as we do close, what I would love to leave all the listeners with is, whether you have been working out all your life or training all your life, or if this is something new to you and you're, just starting to know that AARMY is a place that you are welcome, and that you, just the way you are, that you're welcome. And that for Akin and myself, we find it actually, a huge privilege to get the opportunity to coach you and to get the opportunity to train with you. And, I've been in the game. Both of us have been in the game for a really long time. And, our physical body, for me, I really believe that our physical body is what houses the gift. Our houses our gifts and talents, and us getting strong enough in our body allows us to do the thing that we were created and intended to do. And so really, we're just here to support you and to love on you and to encourage you to live your best life. And so, you have an AARMY. You have an AARMY. Anyone listening, just know that you have support and people that want to see you win. I think that's who we are. How would you?
I agree. I think we're here. We're always going to show up. We're always going to try to show up as our best to coach you. And if you're ready to commit, or if you want to try, we're here. And this is what we love. And we'd love for you guys to be a part of the team. Joe, you as well. When are you going to come to AARMY?
Come on, Joe.
Yeah,
come on, Joe. Where are you at, Joe?
You gotta come over here to New York City.
We'll get it in for sure.
We got to do a pop-up with you.
But I think Instagram and our website is the best way. And then we
have a 2-week free trial.
Yep.
That you can try. But we do show up on Instagram. We have free Friday every month. We have a free Friday on the first week. So we do like a Zoom for everyone, and you can join in on that to try it out. But yeah, just keep in touch with us through Instagram, and we post everything on there. We have some cool things coming up for Black Friday, for Christmas and New Year's. So
good challenges, good New Year, good motivation. We love to motivate and inspire. For
sure. I think that Chief Motivation Officer title coming through strong. And I think you said it better than I could, so I won't try, but I will encourage folks to check it out. Obviously follow along, try the practices and experience. And yeah, I'm super curious to just keep up and keep in touch as you guys continue to grow and expand the business. It's super exciting. It's also an exciting time. So I appreciate you making a little bit of time for us here today, and really looking forward to sharing the conversation. I'm sure folks will really love it.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. For more from Fitt Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.